Chapter 26. The Judiciary. Let's learn. Importance of the judiciary, the Supreme Court, the High Courts, subordinate courts, Lok Adalat. The judiciary is the most important organ of the government. It is the system of courts that interprets and applies the law in the name of the state. The judiciary also provides a mechanism for the resolution of disputes. Every member of society must follow the rule of the land. Along with the legislature and executive, the judiciary is the third organ of the government. The structure of judiciary is independent as well as interwoven with the other organs of the government. It functions at three tiers: the Supreme Court at the highest level, followed by high courts in the states, and subordinate courts at the district level. Though India's governance structure is federal, it has a single integrated judicial system. Importance of the judiciary. In a democracy, the role of judiciary is crucial. Judiciary is a faithful keeper of constitutional assurances. An independent and impartial judiciary can make the legal system vibrant. Our Indian judiciary can be regarded as a creative judiciary. The judiciary helps to settle disputes whenever there is a conflict between people and the state government, two states, or between the state governments and the union government. The judiciary keeps equilibrium between fundamental rights and social justice. It keeps all forms of authorities within their constitutional limitations and protects the fundamental rights of the citizens. The citizens can move the court if they feel that their rights have been violated. Clear violation of constitutional or statutory provision must be interfered in by the apex judiciary. The judiciary can also declare a law of parliament to be null and void if it goes against the principles of our constitution. In this regard, the Supreme Court is the final interpreter of our constitution. Need for an independent judiciary. The framers of the Indian Constitution at the time of framing of our Constitution were concerned about the kind of judiciary our country should have. The framers have kept the judiciary independent of the legislature and the executive so that it can check the misuse of powers by the other two organs of the government, and dispensation of impartial justice is facilitated. The Supreme Court. The Supreme Court of India is the highest court of law in the country. It is located in New Delhi. Composition and appointment of judges. The Supreme Court consists of a Chief Justice and a maximum of 30 other judges to assist him or her. The Parliament may increase the number of judges if it deems it necessary. The Chief Justice and other judges of the Supreme Court are appointed by the President of India on the recommendation of the Collegium, a closed group of Chief Justice of India, the four most senior judges of the court, and the senior-most judge hailing from the High Court of a prospective appointee. Qualification. A person is qualified for appointment as a judge of the Supreme Court only if he or she fulfills the following conditions. He or she is a citizen of India. He or she has been for at least 5 years a judge of a High Court. He or she has been for at least 10 years an advocate of a High Court or of 2 or more than 2 such courts, or he or she is, in the opinion of the President, a distinguished jurist. Brain tickler. Why should judges have an unbiased extent of experience to be eligible for the post? Term. The Chief Justice of India and other judges of the Supreme Court hold office till they attain the age of 65 years. A judge may voluntarily resign before the expiry of his term. In exceptional cases, a Supreme Court judge may be removed before the age of retirement according to the procedure laid down in the Constitution. Thus, a judge of the Supreme Court can be removed from office by an order of the President passed after an address by each House of the Parliament, supported by a majority of total membership of the House. Such an order should be passed by not less than 2/3 majority of the members of the House present and voting on the resolution. A judge of the Supreme Court can be removed on the grounds of misuse of office, proven misbehavior, or incapacity. The process of removing the Supreme Court judges is called impeachment. Jurisdiction. The scope of powers of Supreme Court to hear and decide cases is called its jurisdiction. The Supreme Court has three types of jurisdictions, namely original, appellate, and advisory. Let us now examine the three jurisdictions. Original jurisdiction. There are certain cases which fall within the exclusive jurisdiction of Supreme Court. It means that all such cases begin or originate in the Supreme Court only. It also means that such cases cannot be initiated in any other court. The cases or disputes that come under the original jurisdiction are given below. Disputes between the Union government and one or more state governments. Disputes between two or more states. The Supreme Court has been invested with special powers in the enforcement of fundamental rights. In this connection, it has the power to issue directions or writs. Cases which concern the violation of Constitution by the government or anyone else. Appellate jurisdiction. Appellate jurisdiction means that the Supreme Court can entertain cases in appeal from the lower courts. This jurisdiction pertains to criminal cases, civil cases, and constitutional disputes. An appeal in a criminal case can be brought to the Supreme Court if a decision of the subordinate court has been reversed by a high court and the guilty was awarded the capital punishment, or where a high court has awarded the capital punishment, or where a high court certifies that the case is fit for decision by Supreme Court as some point of law or interpretation of the Constitution is involved. Info-Hive. Supreme Court of India came into existence on 26 January 1950 and is located on Tilak Marg, New Delhi. It functioned from the Parliament House till it moved to the present building. Advisory jurisdiction. This power implies the court's right to give advice if sought. Under advisory jurisdiction, the President of India may refer any question of law or public importance to the Supreme Court for its advice. However, the President is not bound to follow its advice. The Supreme Court records and prints all its proceedings and judgments. Thus, it also functions as the court of record. These judgments serve as laws and can be cited by the subordinate courts throughout the country. Judicial review. The power of judiciary to review and determine the validity of a law or an order may be described as the powers of judicial review. It means that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and any law inconsistent therewith is void. The High Court. The High Court is the highest judicial authority in a state. At present, there are 24 High Courts for 29 states and 7 union territories. The High Courts are the highest courts at state level, but being part of integrated Indian judiciary, they work under the superintendence, direction, and control of the Supreme Court. Composition and appointment of judges. Every High Court has a Chief Justice and a number of judges. The number of judges varies from state to state. The number of judges of each High Court is determined on the basis of the size of the concerned state. The judges of High Courts are appointed by the President of India. While appointing the Chief Justice of a High Court, the President has to consult the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court and the Governor of the state concerned. While appointing other judges, the President consults the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice of the High Court, and Governor of the state concerned. Qualification. In order to be appointed as a judge of a High Court, the person should possess the following qualifications. He or she should be a citizen of India. He or she should have held a judicial office at district level or below for at least 10 years. He or she should have been an advocate in one or more High Courts for at least 10 years continuously without break. Term. Once appointed, the High Court judges hold office till they attain the age of 62 years. After retirement, they may be appointed judges of the Supreme Court, or they may practice as advocates either in the Supreme Court or in any High Court other than the High Court in which they served as judges. Jurisdiction. The original jurisdiction of the High Courts is very limited. Cases of alleged violation of fundamental rights can be initiated in high courts or in the Supreme Court. The high courts have the power to issue orders to restore the fundamental rights of the people. The High Court issues writs for enforcement of fundamental rights. It passes rules on election petitions and other election-related disputes. It hears appeals in both civil and criminal cases against the decisions of the subordinate courts and reviews the judgments. It controls and supervises the working of subordinate courts. Advocate General. An Advocate General is the legal advisor to a state government. He is appointed by the governor of that state. His eligibility criteria are the same as for the judges of the High Court. Subordinate courts. Each state is divided into various districts. The courts which function in these districts are called subordinate courts. These can be divided into two classes, district courts and sessions courts. The district courts and session courts hear civil cases and criminal cases respectively. Cases relating to land records, revenue assessment, and collection from agricultural lands are heard in revenue courts. Civil cases pertain to disputes between two or more persons regarding property, breach of agreement or contract, divorce or landlord-tenant disputes. District courts settle these disputes and also hear appeals against lower court judgments. They do not award any punishment as violation of law is not involved in civil cases. Criminal cases relate to violation of laws. These cases involve theft, dacoity, rape, pickpocketing, physical assault, murder, etc. These cases are filed in the lower criminal court by the police on behalf of the state against the accused. In such cases, the accused, if found guilty, is awarded punishment like fine, imprisonment, or even death sentence. The Sessions Court is the highest court to hear criminal cases at the district level. Revenue cases relating to land revenue on agricultural land in the district. The highest revenue court under the supervision of High Court is the Board of Revenue, while the highest revenue court in a district is the Court of the Collector. The Panchayat courts deal with civil and criminal cases at the village level. These courts work under various regional names such as the Nyay Panchayat, Gram Kachehari, and so on. 3 or 4 villages are clubbed together under a Nyay Panchayat. The judgment passed by the Panchayat court cannot be appealed against, but the contending parties can seek legal remedy in a court. Brain tickler. Who appoints judges of the district sessions court? Lok Adalat. Lok Adalat is a system of alternative dispute resolution ADR developed in India. It means People's Court. The system of Lok Adalats is an improvement and is based on the principles of Mahatma Gandhi. It is a quicker method to provide justice. A Lok Adalat is presided over by a sitting or retired judicial officer as the chairperson with 2 other members, usually a lawyer and a social worker. The main condition for referring a case to the Lok Adalat is that both parties in dispute should mutually agree for a settlement. No appeal can be made against the order of the Lok Adalat. Info Hive. The procedural laws and the Evidence Act are not strictly followed while assessing the merits of the claim by the Lok Adalat. Recap. The judiciary keeps equilibrium between fundamental rights and social justice. The Chief Justice and other judges of the Supreme Court are appointed by the President of India. The High Court is the highest judicial authority in a state. Civil cases pertaining to disputes between 2 or more persons regarding property, breach of agreement or contract, divorce or landlord-tenant disputes. They are heard in the district court, which is the highest in the district. Criminal cases pertain to violation of the law, that is theft, robbery, murder, rape. The Sessions Court is the highest criminal court in a district. Lok Adalat is a system of alternative dispute resolution, ADR, developed in India. It means People's Court.